Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Taro in here with a new video for you. Welcome to Season 1, Part 6 of What If Deku Was an Osmosian. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So, we begin. The next day, hero training began at the end of the day like normal. Aizawa took his place at the lectern to explain what the exercises would be for the day.
Today, we will be going to an off-campus facility.
The dark-clothed man held up a card that had rescue printed in big blue letters.
This training will teach you how to act in various disasters.
This is going to be interesting. It's totally different from anything we have done thus far. Aizawa glared at the green teen for this interruption.
As I was saying, rescuing is one of the most important things a hero does. A hero who can't save people is not a hero at all.
The firm-toned man lifted up a control and pressed a button. The shelves containing the students' hero costume cases emerged from the wall.
I know you are all excited about costumes, but remember, you aren't used to them yet. They could hamper your movements. Get changed and meet at the bus stop.
The students did as instructed. Izuku and Momo then told everyone to get on the bus. The vehicle then set off for the off-campus facility. On the ride over, the students got into a conversation about who would be the best hero. Everyone agreed that Izuku and Todoroki had the most heroic quirks. Asui added that Bakugo was really powerful, but he would never be that popular because of his personality. This made the bomb blonde mad, but the others agreed with this statement. The green girl then turned toward Melissa.
I have a question for you. Isn't your power a lot like All Might's?
The blonde girl did not know what to say to this. Fortunately, Kirishima came to her defense, if unknowingly.
Yeah, but All Might doesn't hurt himself.
Both the green teen and the peppy girl exhaled in relief. Neither of them liked that they had to lie to their classmates. However, All Might had made it clear that knowing this secret could place someone in great danger. The two teens did not want that. After all, they just met their classmates. This would be way too big a thing to put on them right now.
Heads up, everyone. We have arrived.
The bus pulled in front of a large dome. Standing in front of the building was the Space Hero 13. The sight of the astronaut-themed hero surprised many of the students. They had not yet gotten used to the fact that the UA staff consisted of such well-known pro heroes. I can't believe 13 is here. She's one of my favorite heroes.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's used her quirk Black Hole to save hundreds of people from disasters.
All of that is true. That is why I built this facility, to help train you students in how to handle many types of disasters. I named it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, but it is better known as the USJ. Many of the students were awed by this name. Most thought it was weird that it had the same initials as Universal Studios Japan. 13 then gave a short speech on how quirks can be very dangerous. Most people did not see them that way because of the regulations put on them. However, she reminded that while she had used her quirk to save people, it could easily be used to kill people. She wanted the students of 1A to keep that in mind as they went forward in their training. Aizawa pulled 13 to the side.
I thought All Might was supposed to be here.
13 held up 3 fingers as she spoke in a soft voice. He was, but he did too much hero work this morning on the way to campus. He will join us after he rests.
That man is the living embodiment of irresponsibility. We will just have to carry on.
The tall man waved for his students to follow him.
Let's get started.
The 2 educators and the 20 students entered the USJ. Inside the large dome were several different areas. Each one was designed to reproduce the scenes of different disasters. There was a landslide, fire, and shipwreck zone. This added to the theme park feel of the location. The teacher started to give instructions on the exercise. Suddenly, a swirling black hole of darkness opened in the middle of the facility. A thin figure covered in hands emerged from the portal. He was followed by a hulking giant with a bird beak. 2 menacing figures stood in the middle of the facility. Then many more portals opened, and more strange figures poured out of the spiraling gateways.
Hey, are they part of the exercise? Stay back, everyone. 13, get the students out of here.
What's going on, Sensei?
This is not part of the training. Those are villains.
The student became very frightened at the mention of that word. None of them had expected to fight villains this soon. Izuku saw the look in his teacher's eyes. He had just met the man, but he knew that look. It was the same look he had gotten so many times before.
Sir, you can't fight them. Your powers and fighting style are best suited for ambush tactics and one-on-one fighting, not big groups like this. You can't be a pro if you only have one trick.
The long-haired man pulled his goggles over his eyes and took his capture scarf in his hands.
Act like a leader and get your classmates to safety.
The eraser hero leapt into the middle of the villains and started pummeling them. Izuku decided his teacher was right. Aizawa was a trained hero. He also knew that his classmates' safety was the most important thing right now. 13 of the students ran back to the entrance. Before they could reach the door, a large shadow with glowing yellow eyes appeared in front of them, blocking their escape.
Hello, my name is Kurogiri. We are the League of Villains. We were told that All Might would be here. A shame he is not here. We brought so many friends to see his glorious end.
All of 1A was shocked by these words. They had all heard how evil and murderous villains could be. But to have one come right out and say they came to commit murder was still a shock. Melissa was hit harder than any student. Not only was All Might her teacher, he was also family. Without thinking, she channeled the power of One for All into her fist and charged the villain. As the enraged girl leapt forward to strike the phantom villain, she was not alone. Bakugo and Kirishima were by her side. They must have gotten the same idea she did. 2 shadowy tendrils emerged from Kurogiri's vaporous body. The dark limbs wrapped around the 3 teens disappeared.
There are too many heroes here. Begone!
The villain expanded his form, his darkness enveloping the frightened youths. Many of the students disappeared, Izuku among them. Izuku was surrounded by darkness. When light returned to his eyes, he found himself falling into open air. The teen screamed at the top of his lungs as he fell toward a wrecked cityscape. The teen regained his senses after a moment. He activated his power and transformed into steel. The metal kid impacted with a giant bang. His impact kicked up a cloud of dust that covered the ground. Izuku stood up and found that he had made a hole in the ground about 3 feet deep. He checked his body and found that he was in one piece. He did have a few minor dents to his metal form, but this was a minor annoyance. He focused his mind, and the dents popped back into place, and his body was whole once again. The green-haired boy looked around and realized he was in the landslide zone. He figured that the villain, Kurogiri, had the power to teleport. He probably sent the students to different parts of the facility to keep them here and to distract Mr. Aizawa and 13. It was a clever plan, but he thought that the villains must not have complete knowledge of their powers. If they had, it would have been best to send the curious teen to the shipwreck zone. He would have been useless in the water. Izuku's thoughts were interrupted when a swarm of villains descended upon him. The villains rushed him in a mass. Several of them tried attacking the teen, but they just hurt their hands. The steel-skinned youth decided to waste no time. He launched several powerful punches at the 5 villains closest to him. The force of the blows knocked them out cold. This made the villains more wary about approaching Izuku. The clever boy looked around at the group surrounding him. He was surprised at how easily he knocked out those first villains. He counted about 15 more surrounding him. If they were as strong as the ones he knocked out, this should be easy. But he would need more speed. Izuku activated his power again. His body shifted from steel to titanium. The boy then rushed forward. He delivered a powerful punch to the face of one enemy, then a swift kick to another. The villains tried to run, but all of them were knocked out quickly. All 15 were now laid out on the ground around the body shifter.
Seems I was right. These villains were all weak.
A bad guy had hidden himself in the ground behind Izuku. He poked his head out of the ground. He then started to swim forward like some kind of land shark. It seemed he had some kind of earth-manipulating power. He leapt out of the ground to attack Izuku, but the teen was not having any of it. He grabbed the attacker out of the air and slammed him into the ground. Izuku then delivered a powerful shoulder drop onto the villain. He screamed in pain and passed out. Just then, the eager teen saw an icy mist coming from the other side of a nearby hill. Then, a wave of ice covered the ground of the hilltop. Izuku figured that could be only one person. Deku started running toward the new ice field. He decided to keep his titanium form in case he ran into any foes along the way. As Izuku made it over the hill, he found that the ice was caused by the person he suspected. It was Todoroki. He had frozen a field full of villains. The evildoers looked like a garden of ice sculptures.
Todoroki!
The teen waved at his classmate as he descended the hill.
Midoriya, I see you ended up here as well.
Yeah, I see you were attacked too.
They were easy to take care of. It seems the enemy has employed a large force, but most of them are really weak. They have not been trained to use their quirks at all. There are probably only 3 or 4 individuals among them that are actually dangerous.
I had the same thought.
If that is the case, then our classmates should be safe. We should probably focus on the villains back at the entrance.
Agreed. They seem to be the ones leading this attack. We take them out, the attack ends.
Let's go.
The 2 boys ran off toward the entrance, both preparing themselves for a major battle ahead. Meanwhile, Melissa had been teleported to the earthquake zone along with Bakugo and Kirishima. The 3 had also been assaulted by a group of villains much like Midoriya and Todoroki. They were also able to take out their enemies just as quickly.
Well, that's the last of them. Awesome work, you 2.
Thanks, Kirishima.
We need to head back to the entrance and take care of the villains there. Especially the hulking bird guy, the mist villain, and the one covered in hands.
But shouldn't we go find our classmates first? They could be in real trouble with all these villains everywhere. Blondie is right, weird hair. If the villains are all like these losers, our classmates will be fine. We need to finish off that warp guy. He's their way out. We stop them, and the enemy can't escape or bring in backup.
What did I tell you about calling me Blondie, Bakugo?
And my hair is not much different from yours. But I hear what you're saying. You really believe in our classmates. That's real manly, Bakugo. I'm in, you two. Let's do it!
The three ran off back toward the main entrance to carry out their plan. Izuku and Todoroki nearly ran into two groups. The first was Bakugo, Melissa, and Kirishima. The second was Asui and Mineta. The three groups explained what had happened to them and what they planned to do next. All agreed that the villains by the entrance were the biggest threat. Izuku then came up with a plan of action.
Okay, Todoroki, Melissa, and I will take care of the bird guy and the hand villain. Bakugo and Kirishima will stop the warp villain. Asui and Mineta, I want you two to go help our classmates.
But wouldn't it make more sense for us to go as a group? Strength in numbers and all of that?
Normally it would, but we need to use our resources appropriately. Asui, you and Mineta's powers are best suited for capture. I get the feeling that the villains by the entrance are the most combat-oriented. The five of us are better suited for that.
I see what you mean. It's a good plan, Midoriya.
I hate to say it, but the nerd is right. We need to finish this before anyone gets hurt. It's what All Might would do. Thanks, Bakugo. Don't think this means I like you or anything, Deku. It's just that your plan was pretty good. Of course.
The group broke into two. Asui took Mineta to find the other members of 1A, and Izuku took the rest to deal with the leaders of the League. As the group neared the entrance, they split up and headed off to face their pre-planned enemies. As Izuku's group neared the battlefield, they remained hidden in order to get a look at where the battle stood. All of them were worried about Mr. Aizawa. They knew he was a pro-hero, but he was facing a lot of enemies. The sight of the battlefield proved they had a right to be worried. They saw the hulking creature called Nomu standing over Aizawa. The man was lying in a pool of blood. His arms had been twisted and broken.
You are a cool hero, Eraserhead. But your power is best suited for ambush, not head-to-head combat. You are no more dangerous than a powerless bystander against real power.
I'm using my power on him, but he's still so strong. He must have super strength without a quirk.
Yes, Nomu is the genetically engineered anti-symbol of peace. He was designed to take out All Might at his strongest. Fighting you is like fighting an infant.
Izuku turned to his group members.
We need to act now. If we don't, Mr. Aizawa may die.
You're right, Midoriya. What should we do?
Yeah, I can't use my ice right now. If I did, then it would hit Mr. Aizawa. I have a plan. Me and Melissa will attack the beast and get him away from Sensei. Todoroki, use your ice to disable the hand guy. Make sure he can't use his hands.
His classmates nodded in silent agreement. The three set to work. Shoto unleashed an ice wave against the hand villain, whose name was Shigaraki. The ice wielder froze the skeletal man in a position where his hands were in the air, and he could not lower them because of the thick ice now covering his body. Izuku and Melissa went after the big guy called Nomu. The two teens rushed him and hit him with their most powerful blows. The creature did not move an inch. It was like all of the force behind their attacks just vanished.
You two will never defeat Nomu that way. He has shock absorption.
Several thoughts ran through Izuku's mind. He recalled Aizawa saying that the villain still had super strength, even though he had him in his sights. Now, the leader was saying this guy had shock absorption as a power. In the analytical boy's mind, there was only one explanation that made sense. However, the thought of it made his skin crawl. Unfortunately, he did not get to speak it out loud. Melissa beat him to it.
You're saying this thing has more than one quirk? Yes, he does. He is the way we plan to kill All Might, that garbage pro.
Shigaraki then laughed maniacally.
You are all doomed, you hear me?
This is bad.
I have a plan, Midoriya.
I'm all ears.
He said this thing has shock absorption, not repulsion. That means there's only so much force he can take. If I can produce enough force, then we can stop him.
Won't that damage your body, though?
It might, but we have no choice.
Melissa got a look that was crossed between determined and terrified.
Are you with me?
Izuku had thought Melissa was an impressive person when they first met, but now he could see just how heroic she was. She was willing to put her body on the line to protect their class and teachers. And she was willing to do it, even though she was terrified. The green teen could not help but think of All Might right now. This is just the kind of thing he would do. Okay, I will back you up, Melissa nodded in response. The determined girl activated One for All. The power coursed through her veins like a mighty river. An aura of pink energy and red lightning appeared around her. She could feel her support items struggling under the force of the massive force. She knew they would probably not survive this battle. Izuku saw his friend getting ready to strike. He knew he needed to help. The youth changed his body from titanium to steel. While his titanium form was tougher and lighter, it was no good for this next move. He activated his power and took control of the metal that made up his hands. He used his will to reshape the metal appendages into swords. This was the first time he had used this move. Now was as good a time as any to see if it would work. The metal youth unleashed a barrage of slashing attacks against the bird-faced creature. The creature did not move during the mauling. After a few minutes, Nomu was covered in cut marks. Izuku was happy his idea worked, but not for long. Suddenly, Nomu's body started to heal. All of the cuts closed and disappeared. After a minute, it was like he had never been attacked. Great, he has regeneration too! Shigaraki laughed again from his ice prison.
That is right. Like I said, you two have no chance against him.
At that, the creature started to move toward the teens again.
He is wrong, Midoriya. We do have a chance. Your attacks did injure him. That means he can be cut. I'm gonna need you and Todoroki to do something for me.
Melissa explained her plan quietly to Izuku. He got a shocked look on his face. He knew that this was the best plan they had.
Playtime is over. Nomu, destroy them all.
Nomu moved with ridiculous speed for a man his size. He would have steamrolled the two teens if not for Melissa. She stopped the creature by grabbing its torso. The ground cracked under the force of the two powerhouses. Melissa then channeled the tremendous power of One for All and forced the creature back. Meanwhile, Izuku ran towards Todoroki. He told Todoroki the plan. The bicolored teen thought it was a little dangerous, but he agreed. Melissa charged her fist to full power. She unleashed a barrage of hits on her opponent. With each hit, a powerful wave of air pressure was released. However, each hit weakened Melissa's boots and gauntlets. Large stress fractures were forming in the red glossy surface of the support devices. Melissa thought to herself, I hope you're ready, boys. I'm putting everything into this attack. A storm of lightning surrounded the brawler's arms as she geared up for her final attack.
Take this, villain! San Diego Smash!
The mighty blow sent the black-skinned monster flying backwards. He impacted the side of the USJ with a loud crash. As Melissa stood triumphant, her gauntlets and boots disintegrated off her body. The force of the final attack was too much for them to bear. She thought to herself, I have done all I can. Finish this, Izuku and Todoroki. With that, the blonde girl fell to the ground and passed out. Across the USJ at the impact site, Nomu clawed his way out of the wall. His body was a mess of broken bones, bruises, and broken skin. However, his regeneration was starting to activate. At that moment, a flash of silver occurred. Suddenly, Nomu's head fell off his shoulders and landed on the ground. It was then covered in a deep layer of ice. The creature's body fell to the ground, unmoving. Standing over the decapitation was Izuku, his right arm in the shape of a sword, and Shoto Todoroki with ice coming from his right foot. Looks like Melissa's plan worked. A little unheroic, but yeah, if that thing had gotten back up, we would have been in trouble. Just then, a loud bang rang through the USJ. The front doors flew off their hinges. The towering figure of All Might entered the facility.
Have no fear, students.
The mountain of a man looked around to see that the villains had been immobilized. Bakugo and Kirishima saw the #1 hero from their place holding down Kurogiri.
Don't just stand there. Help us with this guy. Right.
All Might walked over to the scene. He grabbed Kurogiri by the neck armor. Bakugo and Kirishima moved to hand over the villain. In that one moment of slight freedom, Kurogiri slipped through their grip. The shadow villain then teleported himself, Shigaraki, and Nomu's remains away. Bakugo saw this and was stunned into silence for a moment. He then let out an enraged outburst.
What the hell? How did he get away? Villains can be slippery. It is my fault, young Bakugo. I should have tied him up before you released him. Now I need to round up all of the other villains here.
All Might turned to face the other students of 1A.
Stay here and wait for the other teachers and young Ida to arrive. They should only be a minute.
All Might did as he said. He zipped through the USJ and made short work of the remaining villains. The other UA teachers arrived in short order and helped with the capturing of the invaders. Aizawa and 13 were taken for medical treatment. Melissa was also scooped up by the emergency services. The girl was still unconscious. All might travel to the hospital with the girl, with Nezu's permission. Nezu then called the police, and the attackers were taken into custody. The police said they would be conducting an investigation into the incident. Nezu told them they had his full permission. The mouse man then turned to the gathered 1A. I am sorry about this, my students. You should not have been placed in this situation. This is our fault. The man bowed deeply at the waist. Please forgive us. The kids looked at each other. Then they all looked at Izuku. A silent understanding passed between them.
It's okay, sir. You couldn't have known this would happen.
Maybe, but I still failed. I am glad that no one was seriously hurt.
Speaking of which, what about 13 and Mr. Aizawa? They were really messed up.
Yes, both of them did sustain some serious injuries, but Recovery Girl is seeing them. She told me 13 will be back up in a few days. Aizawa's will take some more work, but he should pull through. All of the students breathed a sigh of relief at that. They had been so worried about the educators. They had risked their lives to save them. The thought that they might die scared all of them. The 21 students had also learned a hard truth. This was the evil that awaited them in the world. This is what they would be fighting against as heroes. Even though they had survived, they all knew it was too close. They could have easily died today. Each member of 1A knew that they had to get stronger, and they needed to do it fast. Izuku turned back to the principal. Sir, what about Melissa? No need to worry, young man. Miss Shield only had a few minor cuts and scrapes. I am told that she had a few stress fractures in her arms and legs. However, she is still unconscious, but they think she is just exhausted. She will be fine after some rest.
That is good to hear.
Nezu nodded at that. He then turned to look at the scene. It turned out that he had been right. This UA barrier had been a first strike. He figured he would have time to improve the security. He should have acted faster. There were many things he had to do now, but his students had to come first. Nezu called for a bus and had the children return to school. Little did the bear man know that many more challenges were to happen in the coming months.
Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it.
Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. If you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Now, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.